大家好，我的名字叫蓝又良，蓝色的蓝，幼儿园的幼，良心的良，蓝又良就是我的中文名字。然后呢，我的西方名字就是 Orion。我是谁啊？我是菲律宾人，可是我在新加坡工作。然后这是澳大利亚。Anyway, guys, so let's go to speak in a different language now. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, this is actually Werribee Mansion. I'm here in Australia right now. So anyway, I just wanted to basically talk about a few things. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking in English because I'm actually trying to make a message for the elites of the Philippines, and English actually is the language that the elites of the Philippines would most likely be willing to listen to. If I was to have actually done this video 50, 60, 70 years earlier, it probably would not be in English, quizás en español, ¿no? Pero la verdad es que español era el idioma de las élites en Filipinas, ¿no? 50 años antes. Pues la verdad es que ahora no es en español, es más en inglés. So that's the reason why I'm actually using English at the moment. So I just wanted to say, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I'm not here to talk about a specific candidate per se, but I'm here to talk about the fact that the Philippines really needs a lot of major reforms. And a lot of people don't really understand why these reforms are necessary. First of all, what are these reforms? The most important reform of all is actually the easing of foreign investment restrictions in the Constitution of the Philippines, the 1987 Constitution. We need to fix those. We need to make the Philippines much more enticing for foreign investors to come in. We've got to make it sure that people who see our Constitution see that we are not anti-foreign investor. So easing foreign investment restrictions is absolutely important. And number two, okay, so the first one was all about making sure that the job creating foreign investors, they come in, create jobs for the people. And number two is all about making sure that the jobs don't go only to Metro Manila. We want to make sure that the jobs actually go to all parts of the country. And the only way to really do that, the only way to really spread out all the opportunities, is to create this system called federalism. Okay, federalism per se is what you would actually call a framework of territorial administration. So what is it all about? It's all about making sure that all the different regions, okay, they are empowered to make their own decisions as far as business is concerned, how to make their economies better. It's all about making sure that these different regions have the ability to cause, you know, their own economic management to be better. So you can't do it in the system that we currently have, which is unitary. We need federalism. That's the only way to go. So federalism is there to spread out all the opportunities, all the jobs, so that people don't have to go to Manila, but they can actually stay where they're living in different parts of the Philippines. That's what we need, federalism. But thirdly, we also need to make sure that the way politics is done is in a much more efficient and stable way. We currently have an absolutely messy and chaotic system, a very inefficient system, a very ineffectual system that doesn't really work. It's a system that has, the current system that we have, the presidential system, the Philippine presidential system, is a kind of system that has actually allowed us to end up with very highly incompetent people who only won because they had very well-known surnames, they had very well-known parents, and that sort of thing. We need to have a totally meritocratic system. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is actually the parliamentary system. It's actually a system that would force our politics to change, because right now what we have is the politics of personality and cult. Personality cult, all about celebrity status. You know, it's all about name recall. That's what we have under our current Philippine presidential system. We need to change that. We can't have this. We can't continue on with this lousy system where people start fighting each other over the people that they are supporting as presidential candidate. We can't have that at all. So the only way to really fix that would be for us to actually shift over to a parliamentary system. And parliamentary systems are known all around the world to be better. Ceteris paribus, better. than presidential systems. Ladies and gentlemen, there's only one and only one presidential system in the whole world that's doing pretty well. And they're not really doing that well either. It's the United States of America. The United States of America is the only presidentialist system in the world to be doing quite okay. All right? The rest of the world's top countries, they're all parliamentary. So you might be wondering, so what's the thing about the US? Why are they doing okay? It's because they're federal. All right? So the problems of one place or some other places are not the problems of all. They have the ability to actually make sure that each of their states has the way of bringing in more business, of developing their own economies. That's how it works under a federal system. Also, the USA happens to be the world's largest, as in the largest immigrant nation in the world. It is the world's largest country that has a huge number of immigrants and people who happen to be descended from immigrants. So you've got what you call the immigrant ethos. You've got people who remember that they came to a new place, from the old world to the new world, wanting to change things, wanting to move up the ladder. So it's a different story, basically, when you have immigrants. So that's the main thing about the US. That's the reason why they're doing well. It's not because they're presidential. In fact, it's because they are presidential that they're not doing very well. Look at all the countries in the world that are using presidential systems. Look at the Philippines. Look at Latin America. Look at a lot of the countries in Africa. They're not doing well at all. They're doing really badly. They're really, literally failing. And right now, the US is also failing. Look at the quality of candidates that they have. Look at the mudslinging that's been going on. Honestly, this is the problem of the presidential system. It's all about popularity. It's all about making big pronouncements and trying to get, to make yourself really popular and turn yourself into some kind of a celebrity, or trying to shock people into seeing that you're different. And this is the way things are in the Philippines as well. Look at the Philippines. Look how we do our campaigns for the presidency. You see a lot of these song and dance numbers and stuff like that. So it really is a lousy system. If we had a parliamentary system, on the other hand, things would have been a lot better. We wouldn't be having people talking about personalities. We'd be talking about parties and the platforms, what they stand for, what the plans are, what the programs are, what the principles are. That's what it's all about. That's what we need to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have more intelligent discourse if we actually had a parliamentary system. So let's go back again. So, number one, easing of foreign direct investors. Easing of all those restrictions against foreign direct investors. We need to have more foreign investors coming in to create jobs. And then we need to spread out all those jobs that are created by those reforms by having federalism. And then thirdly, to better manage the country, we need a really good system, a more stable, a more efficient system, a more accountable system, a system that is less prone to corruption. And by the way, that's what the parliamentary system is all about. So I hope I've actually done a little bit of a summary, okay, that why these three things are really important, right? I think it's very clear to a lot of people that, there's really no doubt there's something wrong with the Philippines. A lot of people just don't know what they are. So I've talked about those. I talked about what's wrong. We've got the 60-40 things. We've got these restrictions against the entry of foreign investors. We need to get rid of those. We've got our unitary system. Again, it's all about Imperial Manila. Everything is about Manila. Everybody has to go to Manila because that's where all the jobs are. And if they can't find jobs, then they go outside of the country. That's how bad things are. All right. And then, of course, we need to shift away from our presidential system and go to a parliamentary system. So, question is, why is it that there's only one presidential candidate who's doing this, who's talking about this? At the end of the day, all the presidential candidates except one are all talking about easing foreign investment restrictions. Everyone else except Mar Rojas. Okay? But when it comes to talking about all three that we need, there's only one. It's only Duterte. Now, the problem is a lot of people don't like certain aspects of his personality, right? I totally understand. Prissy elites and ivory tower intellectuals, they just wouldn't like this guy because he's not perfect. Well, this exercise isn't about finding the perfect person. It's not about finding the perfect president or perfect candidate. It's all about finding the best one among the five. And, you know, a person who says that he's just going to continue what's being done right now, that's not the way things are. That's not the way things are supposed to be. We shouldn't be going with someone who just promises status quo. No? The Philippines is actually headed for the dumps if we don't fix things. We're actually down there. What's been fueling a so-called rise of the Philippines? It's nothing but OFW remittances. It's just the fact that more and more Filipinos need to go abroad. And that's what's causing people to actually, you know, keep on sending money back. And that's the only thing that's funding the rise of the Philippines. That's the only thing that's funding the consumption in the Philippines. It's really all about growth in consumption, nothing like real investments. Yes, there's actually lots of real estate. There's a lots of condominiums actually being developed and all that, and a lot of these being bought by people from all around the world. People who are OFWs. These are people who do not live in the Philippines. They do not live in the Philippines. It would have been a different story if the boom was accompanied by the fact that these people are also working in the Philippines. But it's not the case. What's happening is we have people who are working abroad, sending money back. They buy these homes, they buy these condominiums, and they can't use them. They can't use them because they're not living in the Philippines in the first place. They can't let their families live there because these places are so far away from where they work. Why? I mean, that's the problem, right? There's not that many jobs anyway. And then when it comes to them trying to rent out their condominiums or their apartments or whatever, they're not able to because the break-even point for rent is too high compared to what ordinary Filipinos who live in and work in the Philippines will be earning. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the big problem. So I honestly don't think there's anything good about what's going on under the daang matuwid of Aquino. It's just not working. It's not nothing good. It's all external stuff. It's not real core growth, real growth in productive capacity. Are there real jobs being created? No. There's a few in the BPO sector, but the BPO sector is all about really, really rich people or people from elite families or good families who can speak English working in these. And at the end of the day, what happens is many of these really good English-speaking kids, they're not really working in the fields that they were supposed to be working in. They studied business or some science course or whatever, and then they're working in a call center. I mean, that's not the way things are supposed to be. The only thing that they've got going for them is that they speak English. That's not the way it's supposed to be. We should have a real economic boom. A real economic boom is not about a few jobs being created for a few people. A real economic boom is jobs created for everyone. And we're not going to have that unless we have the reforms. We need these reforms. These reforms are totally, absolutely necessary. So the thing, ladies and gentlemen, is I hope you understand, I totally hope you understand that it doesn't matter who does the reforms. What matters is the reforms are done. They need to happen. They need to be done. I mean, you don't like Duterte, but he's the only one who's actually doing them. If you guys actually do want to make them happen and you don't like Duterte, then why don't you try convincing your own candidates? Try to get Ma to change his stance. Why don't you get him to become more pro-reform? Why couldn't you guys do that? I actually had a call about it last time. For many months I was saying, those of you who want these reforms to happen, you understand that these reforms need to happen, please make sure that your own candidates, especially Ma Rojas, ought to be supportive of these. And that's unfortunate. You know what's happening is Ma Rojas is the only guy who is totally against all these reforms. And that's the thing I find really disturbing, because I personally wanted to see him actually go for these reforms. I wanted him to see, I thought he was reform-oriented before, that's what I thought, but he was not. Totally not pro-reform. So it's really sad, because you think about it, he's the most anti-reform of all the candidates. So at the end of the day, guys, I just really wanted to make it clear. I just really wanted to let you all know how important these reforms are. These reforms need to happen. They need to happen within the next 6 years. And I'm really hoping that this 2016 will be the very last presidential election for an executive president. I'm really hoping that we get to shift to a federal parliamentary system later on, okay? And so the next election that we'll have is actually parliamentary elections. That's what I hope is going to happen. It doesn't matter who does it. It doesn't matter which presidential candidate makes it happen. It's something that was supposed to happen back in Ramos's time, not more than 20 years ago. That's the way it should have been, but people were against it. People didn't understand why we needed these reforms. So I'm doing this in English because I wanted the elites to understand this. I wanted the elites to appreciate that these reforms are totally necessary. I mean, it's quite unfortunate that a lot of people think that it's optional. It's something that's like nice to have. No, it's not nice to have. It's a must-have. It's an absolutely must-have. Okay, we're just not going to fix our country by staying in the same lousy system that we've got. You know, I hear a lot of these things that people say where, oh, you know, we don't need to have federalism. We could have just used the local government code. You know, that devolves powers anyway, somewhat. That's not the way things are. If you guys try to think about it properly, the guy who wrote the local government code in the Philippines is Nene Pimentel. And Nene Pimentel, he's actually one of the foremost advocates of federalism. And what did he write the local government code for? He was basically trying to say, look, I understand that a lot of people don't really understand how federalism works and they don't want to go for it. So whilst we are still in this unitary system, let's do this as an interim measure. That's why he wrote the local government code. He wrote the local government code as an interim step before moving into federalism. So don't even think that the local government code can replace true federalism. All right, guys, so I really hope you understand. I mean, there's just some fundamental, systemic and foundational constitutional reforms that need to happen. And there's only one guy who's talking about this. It's Duterte. I mean, I'm sorry, for all the things that make him imperfect, he's the only one who's doing this. And these are the things that we need to do. Later on, after all these reforms are done, after we've shifted over to a federal parliamentary system, it's totally perfect for us to actually get someone else. You know, we will have shifted over to a parliamentary system by then. And when that does happen, it'll be very easy to actually get someone who's very presentable. You know, right now we need someone to fix the mess we're in. And that's really what the whole deal is. He's not going to be there forever. He's old. He's 71 years old. He's 71 years old. He's supposed to have retired. You know, you think about it. Lee Kuan Yew became Prime Minister of Singapore at age 35. And he was in office for like 30 years only. For 30 years. No, not only, but for 30 years. And so he retired as Prime Minister at age 65, which is like much younger than when Duterte is actually coming in. So I hope you understand, you know, Digong Duterte, there's no way he can become a dictator, really. He talks, he makes these little jokes, he says all these kinds of things, but look at how many years in office. Has he ever done anything like it? No. He's transformed Davao without needing martial law. He's transformed Davao without needing to be a dictator. No, he's just a very practical-minded, pragmatic person who knows how to be realistic about things. His problem-solving abilities are just really good. That's what it is. He doesn't mince words and he doesn't sugarcoat. He tells things as they are. And that's what we need in our leaders. We don't need people who just try to mouth all kinds of nice-sounding things. We need people to say things as they are. And that's how he is. That's how he was able to transform Davao, and he didn't even need to do martial law. He didn't even need to be a dictator at all. So I mean, spare me the ignorance, guys. Don't do this whole, oh, he's going to be like Hitler. There's absolutely nothing in the history of Davao and Duterte that makes him any way similar to Hitler. Absolutely nothing. There was There was nothing in the history of Duterte similar to the Duterte youth, like a Hitler youth kind of thing. There's nothing like that. He never did anything like that. Did he have brown shirts and black shirts? Not at all. Nothing like that. He never even had to do any of these like weird rhetoric. No, he did not use weird rhetoric to get himself in power. He was for 2 years the OIC appointed by Cory, okay? And then because he did a good job when he stood for elections, he won. And he just kept on winning because he was always delivering. That's what it's all about. It's not because of some fancy ideology. It's not because of some fancy rhetoric, you know, fancy promises. No, it's just plainly doing the right thing, plainly getting the job done. That's what it's all about. So it's nothing similar to what's his name, to Hitler at all, or Mussolini, or anyone like that. The thing about Digong Duterte is that he is similar to Dick Gordon and Bayani Fernando. That's what he is, all right? But he's a Dick Gordon and Bayani Fernando who has the same kind of mass appeal and popularity as Arab. So that's really what he is. There's nothing fascistic about how he has become the poster boy of reform, or the poster boy of the masses and things like that. There's nothing fascistic about it. There's no magic to it. It's just really simple. Everybody points to his Exhibit A, Davao. How well did he run it? How well did he do it? And he's also the one and only true pro-reform person among all the 5 candidates. He's the only one talking about constitutional reforms. All 3 constitutional reforms. That's him. So there's no one else. So I'm sorry, guys. A lot of you might be thinking, why are you going with this guy who talks like a thug and talks like this? Now, I don't care about that anymore. I care more about the reforms. We need these reforms. These are absolutely necessary reforms. Okay? I hope I've made myself clear, guys. Sorry na lang po sa mga naubusan ng English. Nag-i-English lang po ako dahil ang mga kausap ko ay yung mga elites ng Pilipinas. Okay? So anyway, guys, so yeah, I really had to do this in English. This is for the elites. I need the elites to understand. I mean, many of you will not want to listen to what I'm saying. You'll probably hate me for what I'm saying, but this is the truth. All right, guys? So, signing off, my name is Orion. Thank you very much.